Just to look forward to the games this weekend, I want to touch on the sweepers and actually how they were used last weekend. And we're going to have Dublin away to Wexford this weekend. And I think that's going to be a huge match and it's going to dictate a lot for both teams' seasons. But I thought it was very interesting how Dublin set up their sweeper system. So if we look at Dublin in blue here, this is more or less how Dublin set up. So there was a 3-man inside line and there was a 3-man half forward, and you had... So basically, Owen O'Donnell was man marking TJ there, and Sean Moran was sweeping behind him. Now, I thought it was interesting that Sean Moran was more or less able to play pretty close to the 45. The reason being that Kilkenny played 3 inside for the most part. So that means that there's not too much space in there, that's pretty cluttered, so you can afford to be a bit further out. Now, at the other end, this is Kilkenny and how they set up. So you had Paul Ryan playing mostly more or less there on the 6-yard box. You had Liam Rush there with Pádraig Walsh on him, and then you had Paddy Deegan as the spare man. Now, it was very difficult for Paddy Deegan to cover all this space because there was no clutter here. So he was more or less playing on the 21 for a huge amount of the time. And we have a couple of pictures, I think, just to illustrate that. Again, I'm not going to win any photography awards for this, but we've got a picture, I think, of Paddy Deegan. So you can see him there. You've got players on the 21-yard line. That's Rush and Pádraig Walsh. Owen Murphy is trotting back after hitting a free. And that's Paddy Deegan in front. Look at the amount of space he has to try and cover off either side. If a good ball goes in, what chance has he of getting that?
Very little. And usually one forward will go left. So we'll just say, there's a defender here. One Dublin forward will go here. One will go here. Where does Paddy Deegan go?
Yeah, he's in awful trouble.
It's very, very difficult. And I've marked Paul Ryan in that situation where they start on the edge of the square and there used to be 2 or 3 of them and they'd all go in different directions. And you're just, it takes that split second, but they have the yard got. So he was kind of negated here completely by the way they played. And they had the out ball as well of having Rush there, that if they wanted to lamp in a high ball, they knew that he was going to be capable of at least breaking even in there.
And I think Dublin probably would have got more joy if their decision making was a little bit better. Now, they had some younger guys in there, and it mustn't be forgot that Kilkenny had 7 debutants, but like Dublin's kind of plan would be to have lads coming through on the burst as well, and to be honest, that's kind of the game plan for most teams. So for this weekend, we're going to see something fairly similar. I'd imagine that that Dublin will more or less have the same inside track there, and Sean Murphy will be in this area trying to sweep again, and Dublin will probably match up like that. It'll probably be hugely crowded in the middle zone. But what I found very interesting is the change with Sean Murphy. So he was the sweeper of the year last year, maybe tied the Burka. We won't split hairs over that. But I did out the stats last year. In Wexford's most recent game, that was against Kilkenny. The league match last year where they met Kilkenny in the league quarter-final, he had 29 touches of the ball. So 29 possessions. If you have 29 possessions coming out here as the spare man, it's no wonder it's no wonder they had their first win there in God knows how many years. And so, but this year, so that was 29 touches. This year, at pretty much the same stage of the year, how many possessions do you think he had?
I would say single figures. Looking at the game, 9. I thought single figures. Yeah,
it was 9, and 4 times he lost the ball. And that's not down to him, that's down to the fact that the whole team is kind of misfiring to some degree. So if Sean Murphy is going to be here and it's going to be similar setup where Dublin are like that, he's going to find it very tough to get into the game. And also to get on the ball, to do more damage, Sean Murphy would like to be a little bit further out here.
He doesn't want to be picking up the ball necessarily on his 14 or 21 because it's much more difficult, whereas if you pick it up 30 yards out, Dublin will definitely try and get around him. And the funny thing is, like, he's played there for a while now, teams are starting to read it an awful lot better. Like Kilkenny, the team that don't do tactics, have read it.
The greatest tacticians of all time.
Exactly, yeah. And like what happened with Tadhg de Búrca last year in that qualifier game would never happen I don't think will ever happen with Kilkenny again, where they make a hero out of someone. So other teams are starting to cotton on to the way Murphy is playing and will try and work around him basically an awful lot more. And then by dragging him closer to the goals as well, like, he's there, it's cover, but there's still a great chance of getting a goal once you're in around the 14 or 21, whereas if it's all clogged up out here, there's really no chance of getting in.
Do you know that Wexford haven't beaten Dublin in the Championship since 2008? So Dublin have won 4 of the last 5 games, and there was a draw in there as well.
That's right. I think they beat them in no, sorry, I'm wrong. Yeah, Dublin beat them in the replay when they won the Leinster in 13. Yeah.
Do you give Dublin a good chance here? Because Rush was incredibly effective at full forward. If you feed him, and you don't just need to go high ball. He's quite a skillful big man. But Keeney might be out as well. We saw him going off with a shoulder injury, it seemed. Yeah,
they're saying he's out for 2 weeks. I always question when you hear that coming out, that he's out for 2 weeks and there's a chance that he could be in a centre forward at the weekend. But he just, like 35, he used every bit of experience he had. Now, Killian Buckley has sat back here and controlled games, and fair enough, he got on a good bit of ball, but Keeney was unbelievably effective in the role that he played, and it was a leadership role as well. He was just standing up when they needed to get a couple of scores in the first half. He was there to get it. If he's missing, I just felt in the first half, I thought I saw Whiteley taking a few shots from here, you know, out the side, under pressure and hooked, and the midfielders were kind of taking shots, you know, under pressure, and a lot of them, they were half hooked and dropped in around the 21, or a good few balls dropped into Murphy, and there was a good few soft wides as well. There's still maybe that bit of inexperience in Dublin, and that's why they need that figurehead centre forward. And I think he's a game breaker, whether he plays or not, really.
Okay, so I'm going to throw something at you here, and the suggestion that I would make is that perhaps Dublin have the best defence in the championship. Now,
that's a big assumption to make after one game.
Half backline, I should say, actually. Chris Crummey, unbelievable. I think we saw that the last day. Sean Moran is very, very good at the sweeper. Owen O'Donnell, absolutely exceptional defender.
TJ didn't get a sniff, really even though he came up and got that great point under pressure when they needed one near the end.
Hard to keep a good man down. Yeah. And then Chris Barrett as well. So an exceptional half backline, and I wonder how are Wexford going to counteract that, because they'll have Chin there, they'll have probably Jack O'Connor, maybe Aidan Nolan in and out of there. Rory O'Connor, I think, is the key. Now, Conor MacDonald and Lee Chin really struggling to get into their most recent league game against Kilkenny in that semi-final. I think Rory O'Connor is the key here, and at just, I think, 19 years of age, is that even a bit of a worry for Wexford?
It probably is a bit, but he just has an X factor. Like, he was, I think, 4 weeks after doing the leaving cert last year, started against Waterford, and he was just brilliant. Like usually we've seen it with particularly a couple of Waterford players actually in the past, where I think it was Brian O'Halloran got a start in All-Ireland semi-final against Tip. You know, he's taken off for 25 minutes as a young fella. It's very, very difficult to do. Rory O'Connor was just like a seamless transition to senior level, and he just has that bit of X factor. He can score basically from anywhere in around here. If he gets in around goal, you know, all the better. But just takes a bit of pressure off Chin. Chin can still contribute massively, obviously. MacDonald is so dangerous. It's still like that, an unbelievable hand at the edge of the square. It'd be interesting to see with Jack O'Connor, like, he was totally negated under the puckouts against Kilkenny after beating Aidan Hart to 4 or 5 kind of the weekend before that. So it'd be interesting to see what tactic they play there. I'd be surprised if they bombard too much high ball down, because Crummey and Barrett were just lapping that up the last day. So it's going to be an interesting battle. There are 4 or 5 nice Wexford forwards that I've named as well. So
call it. Who's going to win?
I think Wexford will win, to be honest with you. I don't think we should run away with ourselves on Dublin's performance last weekend. I think they're coming, and by all accounts the vibes out of Dublin are really, really good. I haven't heard a bad word said about the Gilroy regime, but I just think Wexford are kind of a step ahead based on what they've done last year and what they've done in stages in the league this year as well. And I kind of think the league semi-final is kind of a stick that Davy will have to beat these lads. Like, there hadn't really been a performance like that since he came in. Yeah. And without putting too fine a point in it, they kind of lay down a small bit.
100%.
You know, and like, of all people, he will that will drive him nuts.